On the 27th of August, 1910, Agnes Gonya Boyagiu was baptized in Skopje, Macedonia, the current capital of Macedonia. She was the daughter of an Albanian local businessman, Nikola, and a devoutly religious woman, Drena, and her date of birth is widely disputed. Nikola was very involved in the church as well as the city government. When she was 8 years old, her father died, leading her to become very close to her mother, who was a kind and compassionate woman. Agnes and her mother opened an embroidery and cloth business to support the family. "My child, never eat a single mouthful unless you are sharing it with others," her mother once told her, teaching her the ways of charity and goodwill. Agnes attended an elementary school run by a convent and then a state-run middle school. She sang in the Sacred Heart Choir, a group that took an annual pilgrimage to a chapel on a mountain in Skopje. On one such trip, at the age of 12, Agnes first felt a calling to religious life. And as a teenager, Agnes was very involved in her parish's activities.
Time I was 12 years old.
12.
That calling to belong to Jesus.
Now, at that time you were in Skopje in Yugoslavia, where you were born.
With my own people.
Was it difficult to leave your people?
That was the sacrifice that Christ asked of us, because we were a very happy and very united family. But God asked for the sacrifice from my people and from me.
Were you a religious family? Had you been brought up to believe, as you do now, that everything was for God?
Yes, I think my mother was a very holy woman, and so she imparted that love for God and love for the neighbor.
When she turned 18, she left Macedonia, deciding to become a nun, and went to the Loreto Convent in Dublin, Ireland. The Loreto Convent is a Christian school owned and managed by the Loreto nuns. That October, she became a postulant, or a candidate for religious order, and was given the name Teresa, after her patroness Saint Therese of Lisieux, the patron saint of missions. She was then sent to India and arrived in Calcutta in January of 1929, where she joined the Loreto Novitiate in Darjeeling. In May of 1931, she made her first profession of vows, marking the completion of her novitiate period. She was assigned to teach at St. Mary's Bengali Medium School, a school dedicated to teaching the poorest of the girls from Bengali families. On May 24, 1937, she made her final profession of vows to a life of poverty and became a Loreto nun, and thus took upon the name Mother Teresa. She continued to teach at St. Mary's, dedicated to aiding these girls overcome their poverty through education, and eventually she became the principal. On the 10th of September in 1946, while she was on a train from Calcutta to the Himalayan foothills for a retreat, she was given a vocation, which she named A Call Within a Call. She was told to devote herself to the caring of the sick and the poor, and to leave the convent. "I want Indian nuns, missionaries of charity, who would be my fire of love amongst the poor, the sick, the dying, and the little children," Christ told her. "You or I know the most incapable person, weak and sinful. But just because you are that, I want to use you for my glory. Wilt thou refuse?" Because of the oath of obedience that she made, she had to receive special permission to leave her convent. After almost a year and a half of attempting to persuade the leaders, in 1948, she received special permission to leave the community and become an independent nun. She was then given 6 months of medical training, and once she was ready, she went out into the slums of Calcutta. She began to wear a plain sari and sandal, and began to teach the children of the slums, showing them how to read and write, as well as how to practice basic hygiene. She began an open-air school and established a home for the dying destitute, using a building she had convinced the government to donate. She then began visiting the families of these students and soon became very popular throughout the slums. Within a year of beginning her work, her service grew, as many young women volunteered. Together, they founded the Missionaries of Charity in October of 1950, with only 12 members, most of which were previously a part of St. Mary's School. As Mother Teresa's charity grew, more and more help was given to the suffering people, with the help of many donations and volunteers. During the 50s and 60s, Mother Teresa established a nursing home, an orphanage, a leper colony, a family clinic, and many mobile health clinics. In 1965, Pope Paul VI bestowed the Decree of Praise on the Missionaries of Charity, which led to Mother Teresa expanding internationally. Along with the Decree of Praise, she received many awards, such as the Nobel Peace Prize and the Jewel of India. On September 5, 1997, after years of deteriorating health, Mother Teresa passed away. In a time of declining number of nuns, Mother Teresa, starting from nothing, founded the Missionaries of Charity, and in these missions alone, there were 3,914 nuns. Initially, the Missionaries of Charity consisted of 12 nuns, and as of today, there are 4,501 in over 133 countries. As well as the Missionaries of Charity, there are 4 other branches: the active branch of the brothers, the contemplative branch of the brothers, the contemplative branch of the sisters, and the Missionary of Charity fathers. Her missions are not limited to Catholics, as many of her followers are of other religions.
The obedience and charity.
When you talk, Mother, of the new congregation, did you start this congregation the
Yes.
second you left? It went with you. You became a missionary of charity instead of being a Loretto.
Yes, we started the approval came from Rome in 1950 on the 7th of October. And since then, the little congregation, first it became a diocesan congregation, and after 15 years, it became a pontifical. Now we are a pontifical congregation with 850 sisters in
As
it.
many as that?
Yes.
And do you find it easy to get sisters? Because vocations have gone down for other orders.
God has been very wonderful to us. We have 182 novices in our 3 novitiates, one in Rome and one in Calcutta and one in Melbourne. And I had news the other day from Calcutta to say that 109 aspirants have joined last June.
Good gracious.
Yes.
Because 2 would be a lot in Ireland in the average congregation.
It's a tremendous gift of God for us, because we are getting vocation from all over the world now.
However, not everyone adored her because of her conservative Catholic views. She stood fairly strongly against abortion, which caused much controversy. "I feel the greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion," she said during her Nobel Peace Prize lecture. She also publicly advocated against the referendum of the Irish to end the ban on divorce. Christopher Hitchens even wrote a book about his criticism called The Missionary Position, Mother Teresa in Theory and Practice, where he argued that Mother Teresa glorified poverty to her own advantage and justified the spread of poverty. Despite the many people who criticized Mother Teresa, she was nominated for beatification a year after her death, which is less than the usual 5 years that passes before nominating a person. In 2003, Pope John Paul II beatified her. Although she is considered a modern-day saint, another miracle will need to be recognized by the Church in order to achieve official sainthood. Despite this, Mother Teresa was considered to be one of the greatest humanitarians of the 20th century. Although Mother Teresa affected millions of lives with her missions of charity, she was completely humble, attributing her success to Jesus. "As to my heart, I belong entirely to the heart of Jesus," she once said. Such humbleness and kindness is taught in her Missionaries of Charity. These missionaries have aided millions of impoverished people of many religions and allowed thousands of people to aid them. Because of these missionaries, Mother Teresa's legacy lives on.